Good. We're going to go in and start. I'm going to scroll back up, see some of the questions here. I hope you guys have been doing well. Okay, let's see here. What is the next game or Kickstarter that you can't wait for and will definitely buy back? Guys, I'm wearing the shirt. You guys know this. Celestial, of course. That's definitely going to be my jam. The minis look cool. I love the RTS kind of aspect of that. With like you have your hero units and your little bases that spawn more units and stuff like that. And the story sounds cool and it's unique. It's something that I think Kickstarter was really made for. Something that doesn't, I don't think, have mass market appeal, which probably means I shouldn't be covering stuff like that because, whatever, but it's what I'm interested in, right? Because I think that looks really cool, but it's certainly not for everybody. And I think I love that. Like, I loved Hate too, and that was the same kind of thing where it's definitely not for everybody. It's a skirmish game, so it's not necessarily even going to sell well, but hey, I like it, and it's there for people who want it, so that's cool. Can you help me with miniature painting equipment for beginners? What to buy and what to avoid? Oh, okay. Depends on where you live. If you live in a place that's really dry, like I live in Idaho, you'll go to like dot and eye, so you'll put a little bit of black on your paintbrush, and it's dry by the time you get to the mini, like within seconds. It really is. It's so dry here. A wet palette is required to pretty much paint here. Like, no joke. You will struggle to paint miniatures if not. If you live in a place that's has more moisture in the air, more humidity, then you're probably okay without that. It can still come in handy, but then you got to worry it almost gets too watery. But you can build that out of some Tupperware and a paper towel and some parchment paper, non-waxed. But really all you need is a decent brush. You don't need to spend $30 on a brush, but you probably don't necessarily want to do the dollar ones because especially when you're first starting out, you're going to be painting kind of awkwardly as you get into the what you can and can't do, and you'll get a feel for that. So a good synthetic brush will be a little bit more robust for you, but you also then won't be fighting the brush because what you're going to do is you're going to get the halfway through the first mini on a cheap one, your brush, especially with how you're going to be painting when you're new, it's going to like mess up the bristles. And so then you're fighting the brush and it's just going to hurt your painting job. So I normally get to the Most Wanted set from Army Painter. That's the regiment brush there is a solid starter brush. It's just a couple bucks per brush. You get a little dry brush there too. You'll be golden. You'll have that little detailed brush as well. But other than that, yeah, just paints. Miniature paint is better. The pigmentation in it is a lot more dense than regular acrylic paint you'd get. Did you ever do a collab with Alex before he jumped off the Vliff? I'm assuming it's supposed to be cliff. So I did do a video with Alex where he was actually on my channel. We talked about our different ways of reviewing, which was kind of cool. So you can go ahead and search for that. I think it was titled Who's Right? Or something like that, which is just a fun title. I had fun with that. We were going to do another collaboration that we had set up a while ago at Gen Con, but I was a day late and he wanted to record a day early because he was super busy. So we never even met up, sadly. And it was going to be like our top 10 things we hate on like Kickstarters, like what crowdfunding campaigns do. So I already have my list, and I might still do it. I don't know. It's been a while though. As for jumping off a cliff, I don't think he did that at all. He just got a really good job, which is good for him, I suppose. We could talk more about that if you guys want, but that's fine. Nothing's off limits here. Woodpecker Games, hey, looking forward to the show. It's good to see you. I apologize. I was really late on that. I got sick, as you guys know. And then I wasn't expecting to have like 2 boss battles in that game. Like there was a lot. There are some prototypes where you kind of have to struggle to get enough game time. And then there are some prototypes that are like, okay, this is actually a fair bit of game. And then I also wanted to like read through the alternative paths you could do, especially in this little like town shanty area. And so yeah, I was late on that. But yeah, I had fun. That was good. If you didn't know, Woodpecker Games does the Nanolith. That's what they did. So they just wrapped up that. Congrats on the success there. I have to go pick up lunch, so I missed part of this. Oh no, but my question. What are your favorite miniatures so far for a board game? Favorite miniatures. That's actually a multifaceted question, but luckily it's one that I've had before. So I've been able to get some thought into this. There's detail, right? There's sculpt design. And those are kind of 2 different things. The ability to get the detail of what you've sculpted is actually fairly easy. I think most companies can do that fairly well. There's some that struggle if they use just plain PVC or something like that, and they have a lot of like sharp edges. It looks a little soft and wavy. If they don't mix some ABS in there or do something like that, or just use a higher quality PVC, because we say PVC and we say ABS and we say resin, but each one of those has like hundreds of options. They're not all the same. And you've probably seen that. You've seen PVC minis that are like Play-Doh almost, or super bendy, and then some that look quite solid. So it just kind of depends. Celestial is obviously a really interesting one, but I haven't seen. I've only seen like the Hips minis, but they're still prototypes of that, so we'll see. But the Hips minis and those are pretty good, and obviously they're Hips. Dawn of Dawn of Madness, not Deep Madness. Dawn of Madness. The minis there I thought were the most impressive when it comes to utilizing them as a storytelling device. So often, we get minis that reflect our character. But what they do there is they actually have the same mini in multiple stages as they like deteriorate and kind of morph into like bad stuff. And so you start out fairly normal, and then you see it kind of evolving and like on over like 4 minis. And what they're doing, like some of them, like there's one where like the guy's like dragging a body and he's hunched over and he's got like his pistol out, but just hanging down. I mean, like it tells a story just by looking at the miniatures. And I've always liked that. Even from when I first started, my very first time, it was Black Rose Wars. It was Black Rose Wars. The first time I nerded out on a miniature on video, where I like talked about it. I talked about it for like 10 minutes. It was the guys with like they had these cool swords and they had this like weird red hair coming out and stuff like that. But they had a 360 view of it, so I was able to kind of turn around and talk about it. And I was like, sorry if this freaks you out, guys. So I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about this, and it turns out people loved it. But he had like like a travel stuff, so you could tell like he was like on the road, and I was just talking even back then about how it's great that you can visually tell a story without any words, without any background. You can just look at something, and if it's designed well enough and realistic enough, you can tell a lot about that person that it represents. And I thought that was super cool. So I think overall, the Dawn of Madness, actually, that storytelling through the miniatures has impressed me the most. Sorry if that was a long response. You had me talking about miniatures. Okay, read out my username. I already tried. But did you not hear it? Simidrag is going to be my attempt at that. See how bad that is. That's why I call you Groot. That's a dumb name. Okay, and then we're talking about sound. Boring. Each time, but reading out my name each time. Okay, whatever. Did you see Alex from GameFound got a Darkest Dungeon copy? I'm super excited despite all the drama. Yeah, actually, I got a copy too. I posted about it. It's actually sitting right there. I haven't unboxed it yet. He's real quick on it, right? I'm sure he got it and then just had the table ready and was like that. I was busy playing Nanolith at the time, so that was on the table, so I didn't unbox it. And then I still haven't done it because whatever. I had some family stuff. I had to pick up my son from a game. I was like 9:30 there. And then I got home, and then I had to do a few other things, catch up on email and whatnot. So I didn't get to filming anything. I knew it was going to live stream, so I didn't have to film video ahead of time. So yeah, I'll unbox it as well. I think it's so. FYI, I played a session of it at Gen Con, and that night when I got to the hotel, I paid for the kind of the extra shipping that they had charged. It's really fun. I'll give you a brief story on it right now. So I played the I don't remember what his name is, but he has the scroll work. It's like the kind of the tank kind of guy. It's like the main guy you get with the Highwayman, I believe, in the video game. So I'm him, and I found that there was a lunge attack that I could do that moved me. And so I never moved in my whole play session, but I attacked a lot, which had me moving around the board. And the idea that my movement is an attack spoke to my soul in a way that I really appreciated. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed just like attacking my way into each area I wanted to go into. And of course, the first guy I get into was the perfect first impression. So there's like a skeleton dude in front of me, and I go to attack, and I just blow him up. I mean, he just gibbs galore. Like he was dead. And I was like, oh yeah, all right, this is cool. So it was a lot of fun. I had because I had so much health and stuff like that. I think I had 2 bleeds and a blight on me, and I was like, I'm okay. You guys go heal yourself. I'm fine. And I'm just busy attacking people. It was actually a lot of fun, and made the extra extra payment pill easier to swallow, I suppose. So I actually had not paid it until then, but I did pay it after that. Okay, done. That's better. Okay, great. Any new? Oh wow, that jumped. Okay. Any new Zombicide? I saw that right there. They announced like 8. I think that's enough. 8 products. They had a few like the Batman one and stuff like that were announced. So you can get your Batman metal Zombicide, which is pretty tempting. That's pretty cool. Okay, are you fancy? No, I am not. But you can't be new at this. You're the almighty overlord. Yeah, I don't know. I got average in my name, guys. You expect a lot from me. Okay, call text export, turn it off and on again. That's kind of what I did, actually. All right. I remember you doing a video on Awakened Realms, the Edge Dawnfall for miniature quality. Yes. Whoops, I didn't too quickly. I remember you doing it. Okay. The Edge Dawnfall. Did you ever give it a proper run through? Did you enjoy it? I did not. It was not my copy. So that was a buddy's copy. At the time, I worked at HP, and my cube mate like across from me, he was our technical writer, and he also ran like the local biggest meetup for like D&D and stuff. He was a very big game master. He's the guy I talk about sometimes in my video where I say he'll buy 2 copies of the game. If he is interested in the board game, because he plays board games, he'll buy the board game, and if he wants the minis for D&D, he'll buy it again and then chuck everything out of it and just keep the minis for D&D. And he has them all cut. You remember like in Mythbusters at the back where they have like the drawers full of stuff? He has thousands and thousands of miniatures, and they're all labeled and in buckets. So, oh, this is my kobolds, and oh, these are my ogres. And so he can do, I mean, he is like invested in this, right? So he had the expendable income just to be able to dump into that, and he was very passionate about it. So he was probably the biggest D&D like nerd I had ever seen when it came to like just he lived and breathed it. So that was super cool. That's why I had another copy of Descent, 2nd edition, for a long time, because there was actually a second campaign, and that was his extra one. He was going to throw them away. And I was like, hey, there's another campaign in there. Why don't you just give it to me? So I had 2 boxes, because he just wants the minis. And, oh, shoot, that was his copy. He had gotten it in, and he said he was super disappointed. He wasn't going to use any of the minis. I'm like super, like, how bad could it be? And he's like, dude, like, it's bad. And so I started to look into it. I'm like, okay, I'll do an unboxing of it or whatever. So I went and did the unboxing and commented on that, but I never ended up playing it. I just gave it back to him so he could do what he wished with it. I don't know what he ended up doing with it. Maybe he played it, maybe not. I'm not sure. All right, pineapple on pizza, yes or no? No, I love cooked pineapple though. Like cooked warm pineapple is delicious. Oh my gosh, I love it. But I don't really care for pizza. I'm not big on sweets, actually. I'm much more of a savory kind of person. Like, I'm the kind of guy that'll fill up on dinner and not even do dessert, or only do a little bit of dessert. I'd rather get filled up on the food I'm eating versus that. So that's kind of my take on that. If it was like not a pizza, and I wouldn't consider pizza if it doesn't have pizza sauce. So there's that too. So with that, I think it just I'm okay with a sweet pizza. And maybe it could work on that, but I wouldn't order a sweet pizza. I would just want a pizza. If I have a hankering for pizza, I want pizza. If I want a hankering for pineapple, I want that. Okay. Okay. I definitely think covering games that don't have a ton of market appeal is great for those of us that like some of those fringe games. That's one of my favorite things about this channel and about not needing. Well, this is weird, by the way. I'm getting this. Now would be a great time to insert ads. And I didn't know you could put ads in a live stream. I'm not going to. That's dumb. You guys don't want to see an ad right now. You guys want to talk to me. So I'm not going to do that. But if nothing else, like the video so that it maybe gets shown to a few more people, because I'm not doing that. It's really cool to be able to have the freedom to cover games that don't get a lot. Like Cryptic Explorer, I think, was a great example of that. That game was never, ever going to be a huge success, a blowout thing. It just doesn't have the mass appeal. The theme isn't right for it. It's super indie. But I'm glad I'm able to do that. I have actually had emails from indie developers saying, hey, will you cover our campaign at least, or review our game or whatever? We're really struggling to get people to do it because we don't have the money to pay them to do it as a service, and then they don't want to do it because they won't get the views, because they won't get the ad revenue. So being so reliant, I know you guys probably hate my whole sponsor thing, just how much it is. because I do Game Work Create and I do Into the AM. Shout out to both of them, of course. I'm sure they're linked in the description below. There you go. But like it's because of stuff like that, because of Patreon, because of YouTube membership, that I don't need to rely on getting the most views ever. The other aspect of that is focus. I think I kind of talked about this in an earlier video, but you can have a purpose for doing your videos. And if your purpose is, I want to get money, I want to get paid, then you're going to pursue the things that get you the most views, naturally. If your focus is kind of like what mine is, which, I mean, obviously isn't getting paid a whole lot, but is helping people, or, just talking about what I'm passionate about and stuff like that, then you can cover those things and you don't even think about it. So I'm really glad I have stuff that gets views, and it helps a lot of people, because I want to help a lot of people, obviously, like my news videos and stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm really glad I can do one that'll just, barely eke out 1,000 views. I know it doesn't help a whole bunch of people, but for those people that didn't know about it, that are interested in it, they love it. And I think that's great. So I love being able to show off stuff like that. And I love the freedom that I have on this channel to do it. For sure. That is great. Okay, let's see. And I'm sorry if I'm skipping some. There are quite a few coming in. If you had to play any solo game for the rest of time, which would you choose and why? Solomon Kane. Solomon Kane was the first game I truly played solo. And it wasn't even, like, it was after the review. I just wanted to play it. And I enjoyed it. And that is the first time that's really happened. If I'm playing solo, often I don't want to play a board game. I want to play a video game or something. I love video games. It was one of my first passion. And in a lot of ways, I'm more of a video game fan than a board game fan. I don't play too many anymore because of, work and life and stuff like that. But yeah, I used to be, like I said, I used to moderate for GameStop. Or GameSpot in online. So I did that for a number of years, actually. I was very big in the video game area. And yeah, I don't know. I play board games to enjoy time with others, typically. So that's tended to be why I do that. But yeah, Solomon Kane was actually, it was fun. It was pretty solid. I enjoyed it. Do you have any YouTube idols that you'd love to meet? Oh yeah, plenty. I mean, yeah, let's go hang out with I don't know. I mean, there's quite a few. So I met Uncle Adam at Gen Con briefly. He does tabletop minions. He was one of the people that got me into painting, and I told him that. And it was really cool to meet him and kind of talk with him. He was looking at the CO cast, and I was there kind of recording some of the stuff there. So we actually waited because he was talking for a while, but my wife really wanted to meet him too. And so we met him and had a chat, and he gave us the time of day. It was really great. It was cool to see him, and I let him know, like his video on making the wet palette and stuff like that got me into painting. It was videos like his that really got me back into that hobby. And briefly, very briefly, with 3 paints, a black, a silver, and a green, painted some like metal orcs when I was a teenager for 40K, but that was it. So it was nice to get back into the hobby, and he was definitely part of that. So it was great to meet him. I know my wife would love to meet Miniac. Obviously, that would be fun too. He looks like a lot of fun. I'd love to have a chat with him. Black Magic Craft. There's a ton. There's a ton. I watch a lot of those guys. A lot of the hobbyists. I don't really watch too many board game videos for a multitude of reasons. First of all, I'm just super busy making my own. I also, when I first started, I would always compare myself to others, and often that can be a very depressive thing because other people are doing great, right? And so you're like, oh man, I didn't get near as many views, and I was always upset and sad. And eventually I got of the mindset, like, I'm just going to do my thing. I'm just going to do my thing and not even worry about what other people are doing. So every now and then I'll do a video and people are like, oh, hey, did you get this? And I'm like, no, they're doing that too. That's awesome. Like, it's good that they're doing it. I think more voices are better, but I don't tend to focus too much on what videos they're doing and covered and stuff like that. Okay, let's see here. Any plans to do mini painting airbrush content? There is actually a Zurong painting that was unlocked from the last fundraiser that I have filmed and I need to edit and do. It's long. It was a multi-part thing, and I might release it in 2 different videos. I don't know. It's long, but it's good. I think I did really good on it, for me anyway. So I'm really, really happy with it. Okay, let's see here. That was actually before. What are your thoughts on Senkokushin? It looks good. I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of hard, right? It reminds me a lot of Into the AM, or not Into the Unknown, where they like to kind of speak in these grandiose terms that like you kind of get how the gameplay is, but kind of not. So it's kind of hard. I think it looks like a lot of fun. I think it looks like a very heavy game. It's probably about at my limit when it comes to all the different stuff to do. It looks like just managing the city could be a game, right? Or dealing with your relationships with other people almost could be a game. And so there's like all these different aspects to it. It looks like a lot of fun though, but it looks pretty meaty. It looks like KDM level of there's a lot going on. You got to remember a lot. There's a lot of rules and stuff like that. So we'll see. I don't know if I'll like it any more than Ant Trespass Odyssey. That's currently my favorite. I'm gonna guess probably not, but it does look good. The design looks neat. I really like the kind of the Japanese theme that's going around in there. That's cool. Okay, let's see. What's your favorite game and why is it Oathsworn? Okay, I just said Ant Trespass Odyssey was the best time I've had. And considering I did play through the prelude, I would consider that a whole game. It was, if you recall, the prelude was actually something we're never going to sell. They crafted an entire campaign for reviewers so it didn't spoil any of the actual game, which blows my mind. Like, I don't know of anybody else that's really done that. So that was pretty cool that they did that. But I had a blast with that. It was so much fun. Oathsworn is great. It really is great. I like it a lot. No problem. Thanks for your support. I'm really happy, Woodpecker. You guys did a great job. And you got me when you mentioned Final Fantasy. How do you come to be an expert in mini construction? I would not say expert. I'm one of those people that like, rate yourself from expert to whatever, and I would never say expert on anything. I think people expect too much of me when I say that, and I'm always self-doubting. A lot of research, a lot of interest. The reason I started going into it is I was spending thousands of dollars. I do spend thousands of dollars on this hobby. Every year I am laying down hundreds for a single game, and I realized like that there was a lot of variety and quality, and I wouldn't be able to tell you how. Like I'm buying some, I don't even know how it works, how it's made, or anything like that. So I was interested in it. That and I do kind of obsess over the minis, and I find them visually interesting, and it's kind of cool how they're both game pieces, but then also pieces of art and they kind of couple with that and marry those together hopefully well and then talking with like, okay, well, what about Sandy's where it has the art, but then so there's all this stuff, right? So I started looking into it and reading about it, talking with devs if I could, asking questions, watching videos on it, interviews, emails, just a ton of just roll up the sleeves work trying to figure out how the stuff that I'm buying is made. But definitely not an expert. I've never made a miniature, and I would consider that would be required to even be called an expert. However, I have done a lot of looking into it and discussing it with people. So yeah, that's why, and that's how. Just do it. Anybody who will talk to me, I'll talk to them about it. So that's been fun. Okay, speaking of prototypes, our prototype was so good you didn't want to stop playing it, even when the review. Even for the review or to send back? That's a very interesting question because there's only a handful that I've ever done that where I'm done with the review of the prototype and we play it more. The last one was actually the Resident Evil board game. I've played through that now after the review about 4 times, I believe, and it's just a single mission. Each time is a very different experience, so that's actually been a lot of fun. And then the other one, the other aspect of that is my wife and I are big Resident Evil fans, her much more than me even, and so we just like the theme as well. But yeah, there was like, I think the last time we played, I missed like 3 shots right at the beginning, and we had an extra spawn, and so we were like bad off to begin with, and so we just rushed through it. We just skipped a lot of the items and just did the bare minimum to get out because we were running low on everything, which means we're gonna be. If it was a campaign, we'd be running low in the next one too, right? And so like we didn't even bother trying to save the guy that you come across there, and that was very different from one where it almost felt kind of easy. It's like, oh yeah, we got all these guys, we're doing good. That was a lot of fun. Oathsworn was one I played a lot of outside of review as well. I've played that first mission with the Broodmother over a dozen times. It's been a lot. I've a lot of them I've even skipped the story part of it and just gone straight to the battle and done the encounter. Part of that was because I was mildly play testing it a little bit, so I did a few others as well for them. But yeah, that was that. Favorite miniatures, easily Judgment Eternal Champions. They are fantastic. I actually thought about mentioning them when I mentioned like you can even get resin miniatures in these, and the design is super cool on those as well. I heard they made them smaller, which is kind of a bummer, but that's all right. Battlewick videos. Hey guys, hello Battlewick. Which is the one mini painting tool, not brushes, you could not live without? The wet palette. For me in Idaho, it's definitely 100% required. If I had to pick something besides that, it would be the soap to clean the brush in. I use that every time. They have this like soap that you kind of rub your brush in, and it's amazing how much paint is left in there. You thought you rinsed it out, you did not. Have you played Dawn of Mana since your original preview way back when? The gameplay didn't seem too hot at the time, though. The concept and theme. Okay, so I have not. I only went through kind of what he explained, but just based off of what he explained in my Gen Con interview with him, that was Byron from Dimension Games. He was talking about it, and they had it set up there. That review was interesting because it was an early review, and with that early review, you sometimes get prototypes that aren't as playable as others, right? I've played through prototypes where there's a section of the rulebook that's not in English. It takes a lot more work, I think, to review a prototype than not, because often you ask a lot of questions. Hey, am I doing this right? Am I doing that right? Talking with a few devs, apparently not everybody does that. A lot of people just kind of wing it and get it wrong. I do tend to, like, I'll be even texting them sometimes if I can, just like, hey, well, like, how does this work? Because I want to be able to play it as accurately as possible, because if I'm not, then that's, I think, of way less value to you guys. It was barely playable, like barely playable. We fudged a lot because like all the numbers didn't match the like you'd say read this and there is not that, so then you have to go find. I think it's probably this one, and it was rough. And they also had it focused on just one character, because at the time they had it to where only that person and their dream kind of thing could like attack the main guy and kind of do that. They've changed a lot of that since then, and actually looks pretty solid. Right now, it's essentially a board management or a map management, or I don't know what you call it. I'm sure the genres in board games are weird. You're essentially trying to control the areas, right? Kind of like a pandemic kind of thing, right? So there's bad things happening, and you're just trying to progress through the story while not making it super bad on the map. And that's essentially what you're doing in the game. And then having a very thematic story along with that. So it actually looks pretty good now, but at the time it was definitely barely playable. What's your opinion on CTG's handling of Mysterious Gearlock Riffle? It's only available for 24 hours several times a year on their website and drives sales and recuperate their losses. I support it. Well, I mean, you already told me your opinion on it. So, for the most part, I don't like any kind of FOMO stuff. I'm not really a fan of that. I know CTG does their whole like lifetime stuff, so people rush to get it and all that. I get it from a business perspective, and it's certainly not the worst thing you could do. But in general, so a business can run their business however they wish and make money however they wish. In my opinion, I would not choose to run a business that way, where I'm doing super limited deals that make people click refresh all the time and freak out or whatever. I'm the kind of person that gets frustrated at like the PlayStation 5 situation, where it's like just open pre-orders. Like you don't need to do the whole, oh my gosh, well, I'll get it before the people that are going to try to sell on eBay. That sort of thing isn't really my jam. So at least me personally, I wouldn't be doing it that way. But I understand totally why they do that. There are worse things to do, for sure. And it's just a mysterious gearlock. I don't know what the mysterious part of it is. I don't like blind bags. I don't like mystery chests. I don't like loot boxes. I don't like stuff that I don't know what I'm getting. I'm willing to pay premium if I know what I'm getting, and I'm willing to pay nothing if I don't. Which country have you always wanted to visit? Germany. My father is 100% German. He was born in Germany. That always kind of had me knowing about Germany, even growing up, and so then they have like a lot of castles. It looks really pretty there. Their attitude seems to match mine, I think, the most when it comes to Europeans. At least a certain subsect of them. So yeah, I would love to visit Germany. I'd love to visit all over. Like Japan would be cool. Korea, everything, I guess the UK, Canada, whatever. I hope someday I'll have the ability to travel around and meet you guys all over the world. That'd be awesome. Just curious how much KD, I'm assuming KD, you've been through. How many campaigns have you started, and have you beat GSK? You're gonna have to tell me what these abbreviations are. Is that KDM? If so, I've only fought the lion. Yes, he read it. I did. Dumb name logs off. Oh, Gearlock costs 35 plus 15 shipping. You have to get free shipping, but you get free shipping for less than or for greater than $200 orders. Yeah, that's expensive. What's a video game you have the fondest memories of? Oh, okay, video game, perfect. Um, Probably Legend of Dragoon. The Legend of Dragoon really opened me up to JRPGs and more story and just a lot of kids play these games that are like like Call of Duty stuff that's like all action all the time and they have like no attention span, and then to play something like Legend of Dragoon that's really a slow burn and stuff like that. And so that got me into like Final Fantasy and stuff like that. So that was probably a big one. But I mean, there's tons. I even had like the Time Crisis with the gun. You'd have to shoot off to reload, and we would do that in the living room, and Duck Hunt, back in the day, and some early stuff like that. Star Tropics on the NES was a big one for me. I never did beat it. My mother beat it though, and I remember when she was going to beat the game, because this was obviously pre-internet and stuff like that, right? So we had the neighbors and we had friends come over to watch the ending because it was the only way you could experience it, and none of us had been able to beat it. And so when she was beating Star Tropics, she actually like it was just a whole bunch of people in the living room watching my mother beat Star Tropics. And I kind of miss when video games are like that. That was pretty cool. It was neat. I liked it. Okay, the European question. Essen Spiel win. KOA win. I don't know. Maybe we should talk about that in the fundraiser. Any games you think are highly overrated, regardless of the game's quality? Um, yeah. I think Nemesis was, but I mean, it's hard, right? Because overrated assumes that, first of all, people should only care about what I care about. Um, Mass market appeal, which drives overratedness, right? Because there's more people in it, is not a bad thing, I don't think. Not every game has to be for us niche gamers that want like the most hardcore game ever that's like super expensive and awesome and has all this stuff or whatever. So I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. Otherwise, you would never get new gamers. A lot of people give Zombicide a flack, right? But Zombicide's what got me in this industry. I'd only played Clue and Monopoly and stuff like that. I'd never played any kind of. I didn't know there were cool board games, and I was invited with that guy at HP to go play Zombicide. I'm like, okay, well, okay, fine, I'll go there. I'll meet and greet some people. We had some pizza, whatever. And I saw the minis, and I was like, what is this? And I held up the Abomination. I'm like, this is awesome. And the rest is history, guys. I mean, Zombicide got me into this. So is Zombicide the best game ever? No, of course not. But am I fine with it being a little bit more mass market, a little bit more open? 100%. Something like Settlers of Catan would have never gotten me into board games, ever. I've never actually played Settlers of Catan, but Zombicide got me into board games. So, stuff like that. I think there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. My view, yeah, there's a lot of popular games that I think Gloomhaven's ugly, and I would never want to stare at it for hours, but people love it, and that's okay. Everybody's different. Any games you think are okay? Nope, I already read that. What's your current opinion about The Witcher Old World, the campaign? Is this in reference to the miniatures? Um, yeah, they're new to doing this whole miniature thing. They actually reached out. We kind of had a discussion around the wash and around how to do it better and stuff like that. And last I heard, I haven't followed up on it a lot since they were. They were like, hey, they were very thankful and said that they were going to go work on it and kind of get it right. And I think that's great. We as well versed people who have bought a lot of these games and looked into it and stuff like that might know more than the creators themselves when it comes to stuff like a wash on a miniature and whether or not you need to prime it first or not. And I think sometimes we're very quick to judge. I'm one of them. Instead of just like, hey, this is probably wrong. You probably want to fix this. And so our attitude isn't always the best at things, but it's good. I'm glad they were going to do that. Monster Hunter reopen all-in pledge. Any advices? Typically, I would say don't do an all-in. The most all-in I'll do is a gameplay all-in, and even then, I'm kind of hanging back on that a little bit. I just store the expansions anyway. I never get to them. Monster Hunter has some great crafting in it. It really does. Like the crafting in there was really, really fun. The boss battles are chaotic. They're not the most thematic because it's very limited to what it can do as an AI. But it's still fun to roll dice and attack things. And again, the crafting is really what's there. So I would keep in mind that you're only going to be playing Monster Hunter for the crafting, not for the really tight boss battles, if that makes sense. There are better games for that. So keep that in mind when you're going to back stuff, and back stuff that you think would help with that crafting experience for you. Be my suggestion there. Do you ever feel saying negative things? This is great. This is from Co-op for Two. Do you ever feel bad saying negative things about a game knowing the designer might watch and feel bad, or worry about talking with the designer and then later have a hard time criticizing their design? That's two questions. I'll answer them separately. But the first one, no, because I don't think about it. I really don't. When I'm talking like this, I'm talking like I would to a friend. And what I mean by that is I'm not watching my words. I'm not being careful. That's gotten me in hot water before because I'm not the best at communicating all the time, and sometimes it's not the most well thought out thing. But it's how I choose to interact with you guys. So I don't think about it. And so when I'm saying something but also I know where my heart is too, right? And so I know it's not malicious. I'm not like, and I hope they fail, and I hope they suffer, and and I hate them. I don't know if I hate anybody. Hate is such a strong word. I tell my kids this all the time. I don't know. There's very few things I might hate in this world, dislike or think it's not for me, perhaps, or being upset about, but to hate on stuff, yeah, I don't really subscribe to that too much, which might surprise some people perhaps because I talk loose. And I grew up that way. I grew up here, saying shut up, not be quiet, or that's crap, just meaning that's bad. I mean, it's a very casual speech, and I know it's probably not ideal for a critic to do something like that. Maybe I'll work on it, maybe not. I don't know. For now, it's who I am. So I don't think about it. So I don't necessarily feel bad on that. But again, it's all about focus. If I did the video for the creator, then yes, I would feel bad. But I'm doing the video for you guys. And so being honest with you guys and being kind of blunt about my opinions with you guys isn't something that I should feel negative about at all. That's my purpose. That's what I'm here to do. And so I don't really have any shame in doing that. And at the end of the day, the moment you sell something, it's a business. It doesn't matter if you're super indie or not. If you're asking for somebody's hard-earned money that they went to work with and slogged at some job just to be able to make enough to also pay you for a product, I mean, if I don't think that product's good, I don't think that product's good. I don't have too much qualm about that. Let's get that second part there. Or worry about talking with the designer and then later having a hard time criticizing their design. This is, sorry about my chair squeaking. I'm getting a new chair, by the way. This is kind of difficult because you end up working with these people and you end up realizing, like, if I didn't have the YouTube channel, first of all, they probably wouldn't be giving the time of day. But on top of that, I would be friends with these people. I think they seem super cool. A lot of these designers and developers are super neat people. I think I'd be friends with most of the people I come on as people. And so it's hard to draw that line, right? I've talked with Leo a lot. We've sometimes agreed, sometimes not, on a variety of things. Leo from Mythic Games. And I think it took him a while, but he realizes, and I think a lot of people do in this industry, but we've even talked about this before, that I have a role to play, and that prevents that. Have you ever seen the movie The Post? If not, you can go ahead and Google it. It's by the Washington Post. It has like Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks in it, I believe. And it talks about just this, where you went to a party with these people. These are like, their kids' names, and now you have to write something that's going to hurt them, and kind of having that line and that responsibility of it'd be no different than a cop, right? A cop can have friends, but if you need to arrest your friend, if you get called, you got to do it, right? I mean, you have responsibilities you do, even if you don't like them. But yes, it is definitely no fun to know the person on a more personal level beyond just, I know your name and your face, to actually have conversations with people. It's invariably you build a rapport, and invariably you build those social connections. We're social creatures. But at the end of the day, you got a job to do. So do I feel bad about that? No. Is it hard? Yeah, it's definitely hard to do. I do it. And it's not fun. It's not fun knowing that, but yeah, I mean, it's what I'm here to do. Have you been watching Primal? Season 2 just ended, and man, it's been a ride. I have not been watching that. It does look super cool, though, for sure. That looks like a super cool cartoon. I believe they did Samurai Jack before that and stuff like that, right? Very cool art style. Do you have any ongoing card collections like Magic the Gathering, Pokemon cards, etc.? I love card games. I try to cover more card games than you guys are like, I don't want to view it. And it gets like no views, but I love card games. If yes, what's the card you own with the most value? Okay, little story there. I sold it. I'm off and on again on buying Magic cards. I love Magic the Gathering as a very casual game. I've never played Friday Night Magic. I don't care about chasing that. I just want to build a deck of wolves and play them or whatever, or something interesting like that. Or I just like theming decks. I love deck creation and then playing them and having fun. So I play like Kitchen Sink, or whatever it's called, Kitchen Magic or whatever, where I just play with people I know. With that being said, I got back into it. My wife and I were buying them and playing them, and I get this card. I hadn't bought any in years because I was in college, couldn't afford it. But I'm out of college now. I buy it, and there's this full art foil land that I'm like, wow, this looks really pretty. And I was like, oh, maybe that's worth some. I look it up, it's worth $200. I'm like, well, shoot, I don't like it that much. So I go to ABU Games down here in Boise, and I go there, and they're like, hey, we'll give you like even some extra money if it's in-store credit. So I'd already played Zombicide at the time, so I was like, cool. So I traded it in, got in-store credit, and then left because I didn't know what to buy, right? I didn't want to just buy more Magic. That's a lot of Magic cards. So I start Googling, and I'm watching like the Dice Tower and all these things, and this is where I'm getting into the board game stuff. And I buy my first board game, which is Descent, second edition, plus some of the expansions with that money for Magic the Gathering. I just bought my daughter a booster box or a collection set of Final Fantasy cards, and then a booster box of the Dragon Ball Super card game. So we have those going as well now too. So yeah, always too many. KY, nice to catch you live. Hope you're well. I am doing much better. Thank you very much. Hope you're doing good as well, Gabriel. Can you please talk about the new Kickstarter campaign for Factions of Soul Game? I would if I knew what that was. I'll Google that. No day off here. Have a like. Watch it later. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Good day from Australia. What's your favorite video game series? Series would probably be... That's hard. That's hard for a whole series. I suppose probably for a series Final Fantasy. I am playing Nier Automata with my daughter, going through that the second time with her. I played it once originally as well. But I mean, the Nier games are always fun. It always ends up where and I guess I won't spoil anything, but it's very much just like his Nier Replicant as well. But that's okay. And then the Gestalt stuff and all that. But I really enjoy that. I used to play Resident Evil a lot, so that was probably a big one for a long time there. I stopped around 6, dabbled in 7, and that was kind of my experience there. I did Nanolith and Agamonia also did Preludes. Perhaps. I thought both were part of the game. Maybe I didn't know what I was playing. What game was it that he said was his favorite? I didn't understand. For video games, my favorite would have been Legend of Dragoon as my kind of all-time favorite. And then as the board game, it would be Aeon Trespass Odyssey, at least the Prelude. What city in Idaho do you live? I live in Idaho. Oh, Metroid, you're getting kind of cagey. I live in Meridian. Is Marvel Legendary worth it? Metroid, go ahead and email me. Maybe we can meet up sometime. I'm serious. We'll have a chat or something. Go get a coffee or whatever. I have a question. How do you feel about the death of the Queen of England? As an American, it was just a title on an article. Sadly, 96 years though is like impressive. Like she's seen a lot of stuff. What's your biggest disappointment from Kickstarter? Biggest disappointment? Oh, there's so many. There's so many, right? I was just talking about this. We get all these games and we're so excited for them, and then you end up and you look and you're like, I didn't even finish that. I didn't play. I don't necessarily want to play it. There's been a lot of flops on Kickstarter. I refer to Trudvang Legends as a flop because even after so much time, it was still like a 7 out of 10 kind of thing, which if that's the best they could make it, that kind of sucks. And then there was a discussion on whether or not I would call that a flop or not. But I'd call many of the games I've got on Kickstarter a flop. If I'm not, how many times do you hear about a Kickstarter and it's like the thing, and then a year from now, is anybody playing it? Is anybody talking about it? Is it even a thing, or did it just go away like so many others? So, yeah, biggest disappointment, Nemesis. When I first started covering campaigns, it was Hate and then Nemesis. I did like 7 videos on Nemesis. I did like weekly updates on that where I was super excited for it. I loved the theme, loved the art. The minis looked super cool. I was just getting into board games more and more, and I was really enjoying it. And I was jazzed. I was super excited for Nemesis. And I got it, and it was definitely not for me. I'm glad people can enjoy that experience, and I can understand how they can enjoy that experience. I did not. I was so upset playing that game. And it actually taught me one thing, because I did a review about it, and I was pretty upset in the review as well. And I try not to, I don't believe I've done that since. And so learn from your mistakes, right? But what it really taught me there is that I don't really need to worry about the free games that you get, because, it's like, oh, hey, here's a free game, and review it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But then what's it to me? But if I paid $300+ for something and I get it back, I feel I'm more close to bias there, where either I want to reaffirm that I did a good job. I was so like do I really love hate, or do I love it because I spent $350 on it, right? Or I'll be really upset if it doesn't match because I'm out money. Whereas if I don't like a free game, well, I'm not out anything. So what the heck's it to me? So I feel I'm actually much more probably less biased and more critical on the games I get for free. Then I know that's opposite of what a lot of people think, and I'm sure people operate differently. But for me, again, if I didn't pay for it, what the heck do I care? But if I paid for it, I try to really go over my pros and cons and really kind of take a second glance and just really make sure I'm not putting too much bias there because I actually paid for it. So yeah, that was probably the biggest disappointment. I was so deflated on Nemesis, so upset. Senjutsu was pretty close to that too, because I thought that looked awesome, and then it just wasn't for me. When are you unboxing Darkest Dungeon? I'll be unboxing it tonight. You'll probably get the video either Saturday or Sunday, probably Sunday. Hi, KOA. Hope you are well. What paints would you suggest are good for painting smaller miniatures like 20-30 millimeter? And is there a good tip for basing plain base miniatures in reference to Resident Evil? Okay, so for painting, Vallejo's my go-to. They have a lot of colors. You can find them pretty much anywhere, and that's the key point there. When it comes to what you can just go into a store and buy easily, because people are like, oh, I love P3, and oh, I love these AKs, and oh, I love all this stuff, and like that's great, but like you gotta order them online, and they're normally in a different denomination. You gotta get them shipped, and it's a pain. Vallejo's in stores, Games Workshop or Citadel's in stores, and Army Painter in stores. Of those 3, Vallejo. So that's what I would pick there. Okay, so for basing plain base miniatures in reference to Resident Evil, my go-to with that, and now I'm going to go back and say a Citadel paint, but Astral Granite Debris. If you get that, and I did this on my Rise of Moloch paintings, on my Batman ones, you can look at either of those painting videos to see the texture that I'm talking about. But you do that, you put a wash on it, and then you dry brush it on, and it's this kind of generic, dark-looking grit that could just be, dirt, or it could be a street, or it could be a lot of different things. But it kind of matches a lot. I do that when the maps change, because a lot of times it's like, oh, if you're always in a field, well, then you just do it a field. But that field's gonna look really dumb when you're in a building, right? And so I kind of do that as a generic texture paint that looks nice and kind of blends in with typically wherever you're at. Nothing's perfect, but that tends to be what I do. Legend of Dragoon. Oh man, what a great game it is. It was. I know people complain about the whole Power Rangers thing, or oh, that person's all in blue, I bet they're on my team. But it had a character death that actually mattered a lot more, because in Final Fantasy VII, the materia system made, you never had to use Aerith. Just put all your materia on Cloud. He'll do just fine. So I never even used her anyway. But it also had speaking in the, it had like voiceover work in the CGI, which at the time Squaresoft was saying wasn't possible. Even with Final Fantasy IX, they didn't do that. They didn't do that till 10. It was very good, very ahead of its time. Loved it. Let's see here. Okay, time to ask anything. Have you ever pooped so hard your back cracked? No, my back has never cracked. I've had some issues. I mean, we've all been there, but no, my back's not cracked. Dude, you might want to get that looked at. That's a lot. I feel that's almost a size thing more than a pressure thing. What game has your wife insisted you back on Kickstarter or buy, even though you didn't want to? Um, None. None that I didn't want to. Except that I don't like spending money. I when I was growing up, we didn't have like a whole bunch of money, and at times we were very poor. Not all the time, but for a very formative portion of it for my years anyway. But either way, we were never like flush with money or anything. So like I didn't live in a house until I was like 11 years old, so it was all just apartments and stuff. So I think I got that from my dad. I'm a bit of a penny pitcher, so she'll talk me into backing stuff, but I always want the game. Kickstarter you regret missing. Kingdom Death Monster would have been a lot cheaper. So there's that, I suppose. Early on there was, but that was also because I didn't know what I wanted. You know, when you're first starting, you don't know what you like and don't like and why. And so you're just looking at cool art and the games. You're like, oh, that sounds kind of fun. Maybe I'll play that. But no, for the most part, if I want something, I back it. And that's, again, thanks to the sponsorships and the subscriptions and people turning off their ad blocker that allows for that. Because it's an expensive hobby, guys. Who's your favorite superhero? Batman. Follow up. Who is your daddy and what does he do? My dad's name is Roy, and he's retired. He's in his mid-70s and is doing lots of yard work. Shower first thing in the morning or just before bed? First thing in the morning. I always shower before I even emerge from the room. What are your 2 to 3 most anticipated games released or coming this year or next? 2 to 3 most anticipated. Games released. Okay, so we're talking delivered games. Enchantress Odyssey, right? Kingdoms Forlorn, which are both into the unknown, but I think they'll be really cool. Games release next year. I'm trying to think of a third. I want to make it good. I don't. So I'm trying to think here. One am I backing that it looks really good? Oh, I don't know. There's so many then on that third one. Like those are the two standout for me. I would say Storm Thunder, but I'm not sure it's coming. We'll see. Maybe if Laser Square Games launches a few more campaigns, we can get it. What are your 2 to 3 most anticipated? Okay, I already did that. Do you think it's the right move to hold off on future Kickstarters until companies deliver the product in full? I have backed over 40 projects last year and have stopped until I get my pledges. Yes and no. When you're first starting out, you should deliver the game. It's very important to do that. Because you just need to know that they need to see that you can do that. There are exceptions for that. If you are very good at updates and very confident with those, you might be able to do it early. The really hard part about running a business on Kickstarter is you're essentially you have this business and you get paid one time for it a whole bunch of money. And then you have to slowly budget that out. And that's a very hard skill to do, especially over years. A lot of times people are like, oh my gosh, I just got $1 million. And they hire staff and they buy an office and all this stuff. And then they find out they still had 2 years of that. I just watched a video online as Tech Tips where they made the screwdriver that they were building. And the whole video was about how they thought they were ready for mass production, but they 100% weren't. And it took like $100,000 and several years to get this thing out just for mass production because of all these other issues they had. They had it designed well before then and thought, oh yeah, we'll just mass produce and we're done. But it's never that easy. There's a lot of issues that can come up. And so they were talking through all of that stuff. And, you know, it's really important to do that. But I understand not wanting to have a business that just gets paid every 3 years. And so, I mean, it's kind of hard, right? It really is. But you definitely need a good throughput is what I would say. So in my work, we have a Kanban board where we have tasks that we need to do. And as long as, in general, I'm moving things from left to right and there's throughput, if I need to take some extra time on this one, that's okay. It's allowed because I'm still having that throughput. But if I don't have that throughput, if I'm not delivering things consistently, then that's bad. Additionally, you don't want to ever launch more than you're delivering, right? You don't want to ever outrun your headlights. At that point, you are going to reach a point of no return. So if you launched 3, you should have delivered 3. If you launch 3 and deliver 2 every year, you're eventually going to have a backlog of 20 or 30 or 40 or 100 games. Or like there's no limit to that then. So you have to be able to do that as well. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard. Don't want to know who your dad is. I told you his name's Roy. I have to put in serious thought about creating your own board game. I think we probably all have. It's kind of like how probably every programmer has thought about making a video game kind of thing. I do have a list of ideas that I jot down just when I have them. But serious, no. Would I even want to? I'm not sure, actually. It's very hard to do. There's a lot of work to it. It doesn't pay very well, unless your name's Hasbro. I'm not going to be buying a yacht. No game designer's going to be buying a yacht anytime soon. So you don't have to worry about that. But I mean, they love it, and that's great. It's a lot of work. Would I? I mean, maybe in the future. Yeah, maybe. It's important to separate the creators from the creation. You can criticize the game and not be the designer personally. Very true. Very true. Just like art, like I just said, CTG's art is something I don't find appealing at all. It seems kind of slightly amateurish to me. I don't know who draws it, or if that's the style they can only draw. Maybe they're only doing that based off direct. Like I don't know any of these things, and I'm just like me, like you could criticize what I do in this channel, but you don't know me as a father or as a husband or as a community member. There's so many other aspects to me than just this channel. So even if you criticized a part of that, it's only a part. The person who drew that art has an entire life as a human being that I'm not judging at all. Just some creation that they did under the orders of some company, which is so far removed. I know you want to put yourself into stuff like that, but in the end, it's fairly removed, and it's certainly not malicious. I think, your boss criticizes you, right? I mean, he's supposed to. Hey, yeah, that's great, but could you work on your communication with the team more? Or, hey, yeah, you're doing great, but maybe this or that. Like, I mean, that's their job, and the same with the critic. I have no problem being a critic. If you could port a movie into a board game, what would it be? And in addition, what type of game would it be? Skirmish, area control, etc. Port a movie into a board game. Well, shoot, we're doing that all the time now, aren't we? I'm not sure there's too much left. um, yeah, I'm not sure. Let's do something weird. Spaceballs. I want Spaceballs the board game because it'd just be Spaceballs the board game, and I'd find that funny. Tommy Tampons. Well, what a name. I'm nowhere near the number, and I'm putting a hold on KS Budge. Okay, yeah, just response. Were you a fan of dice chucking in combat, and which board game is your favorite combat mechanics? Yes, I am a fan of dice chucking. It's just fun. It's fun to do. It's why they're there. It's why it's involved in gambling so much. Rolling dice and seeing that number is great. I thought about, at one point, reviewing games based off of how many times I went, yes! Or how many times that happened and people got excited, or, oh, no! It's great to be able to do that, and the physical action is kind of good. I mean, it's why you can get addicted to physical actions, right? It's like when you smoke, it's not just the tobacco, it's the act of having a cigarette and flicking it and putting it into your mouth and doing all that stuff. You get addicted to certain things. Flipping over a card, oh, well, I get it. It's that same build-up, right? But then you flip it and then you're done. It's a lot more to roll and then do it and then look and then see it, right? It's that kind of multi-step process I like. Speaking of which, that goes to my favorite game mechanic. That is a very loud truck. That is the garbage truck. So we're going to take trash out is what he's doing. With that, I actually really liked Warhammers because it's two point. It's hits and then wounds, and that double pronged roll to actually do damage is great, right? Because it's this whole kind of roller coaster of a ride. It's you're rolling all the dice, and okay, I gotta get 4 ups. And you're like, okay, I got 4. So then you get the 4, and then you're like, okay, all right, I'm gonna try and wound it. So now you already got that, I got it, and now you gotta get an, I got it again. So then you're rolling again. Okay, I'm wounding on threes, and you roll, and you're like, I got 2. Okay, and so then you do that, and then they have to see if they save it, and then you get to roll damage on top of that. So sometimes it can be a 5-step roll process, all with those highs. And so it gets the adrenaline going and gets the dopamine hit or whatever the heck's going on in my brain that I just love. That kind of prolonged, but it's like a multifaceted gratification that I really enjoy. What is your view on Warhammer 40k? I buy too much of it. So let's see, I got my Adeptus Sortus right up there. I bought that for my daughter. I got my Necrons there, my son's Tyranids there, my wife's Death Guards there, my Space Marines there. my Custodes box I'm building, that's up there. And then we have more Space Marines and another Playburst crawler I need to build as well. I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. It took strategy games to a new level for me. It really did. When it comes to just the positioning and the theory crafting around it, it has that army building that I love, that I get from stuff like Limbo or Mythic Battles, that I really appreciate. But then it puts that strategy on like a whole nother level. It's hard to beat. It really is. It's not the most balanced, but again, I play for fun anyway, so that's fine. Yeah, I really enjoy it. I like it a lot. And I like the hobby part of it too. Okay, let's see. Have you ever gotten an Infinity Games in? Do you end up playing more board games or war games? I play more board games than war games, but I definitely play a fair amount of war games as well. I did. I played Infinity at Gen Con and then ended up buying a set. So I have, the buildings are right behind there, and they're actually in the box. I got the Code 1 Operation Crimson Stone box right over there. Metal minis, which are, whatever, but they're pretty small. The tags are starting to put like into that seal cast resin, which is nice. But yeah, I mean, it's cheaper. It's really fun. That is kind of like, Code 1 is kind of like Killzone. So I haven't played N4 yet. I haven't played like the full game, but I want to. I'll get there. Which Warhammer you played? Vanilla, Necromunda, or Kill Team? I've played Kill Team. Didn't actually care for it too much, but I only played once. Otherwise, it's normal vanilla 40k. I've not played Necromunda. I just saw the cost of shipping the Tainted Grail 11 kilogram pledge, $33. Meanwhile, Command charges you up to $20 more or less. Dune WTF. Yeah. There's a whole lot there. I've talked about that a whole lot, so I probably won't get too much into it. There's definitely some payment on it from, in other words, it's not always full price that they're listing. It definitely costs them more than $33 to ship Tainted Grail. I can tell you that much. That doesn't necessarily mean that it costs that much more. And it's hard to tell, right? Because each company has different logistics and different contracts and all sorts of other stuff. And some just are better at shipping cheaper than others. Just like when I shipped my stuff from the first fundraiser, it was really expensive. I now have a person that knows kind of how to shop around and kind of do different things, and they can get a much cheaper price than I could. We're shipping the same thing. They're just better at it than I am. Which board game for you has the best art, cards, boards, etc.? The best art, that is very subjective, and there are different merits to a whole bunch. I always actually really liked the Arena of the Contest art. Not all of it is A+, but a lot of it is. I really dig that style. It's like, it's not quite realistic, but it's also that cool high fantasy in there, and I don't know, I always really liked the art in that. So that's really cool. I live in Idaho too. Okay, represented like 3 of us. There are dozens of us. Andy, feel free to message me and let me know if you're in northern Idaho. Like, I'm not going up to Kamei or anything, so. Man, sometimes it jumps. I apologize for that. Let me get back to where I was. Like, it's like, oh, you want to scroll down. It's because you guys are going quicker than I am. You put serious on and celebrating. Okay, creating on board. So I'm past 11 now. Okay. Have you seen or heard anything new about the Slay the Spire board game? No. They announced it and then went quiet. So God only knows there. That and the Batman Escape from Arkham Asylum are 2 I'm hoping to get some more information on. Getting me excited for Interest Odyssey? You should. It's amazing. Come on, Dune. 500,000, 6 days left. 6,000 after Cyberpunk. Stronger IP than Cyberpunk. Is this where the come on new expected norm going forward post MV backlash? I don't know if they view it as a norm, but I think we do, right? That's 2 in a row that have kind of been like that. They're definitely not doing as well when it comes to that. Now, realize you're looking at revenue and not profit. So it might be more profitable for them. If they're offering less and they're making less, I mean, that doesn't mean their profit isn't higher. So just be aware of that, of course. And they don't care too much about Kickstarter. Their bread and butter is... Hold on. I got some coffee. I haven't been drinking it. Totally Hawaiian blend, by the way. I really like it. It's nice and smooth. Not too bitter. Their jam is retail. That's where they get the majority of their money. And these kind of games probably sell really good at retail. And it's a better deal. I plan on getting them retail, actually, including Marvel Zombies and including the Dune game. So, it's they're still doing well. Thank you, by the way, for answering all these questions. Great chill stream. Oh, I appreciate it. I love it. This is great. What's your body count? like 1.5. Interesting you say this about so many games being a disappointment 1 year from now. Do you still play or even think about it? With that in mind, do you still focus on Kick? Do you still? Why do you still focus on Kickstarter? Um, because of stuff like Antris Odyssey, which is probably my favorite game. Because of games like Hate, which was one of my favorite games. I gave it Game of the Year when it came out. There's stuff available there that isn't retail. When I go to my free local gaming store, often I feel kind of meh about board games. It just the themes that I like, the styles that I like, often aren't super retail focused. Normally, I kind of like this, like Mythic Battles Pantheon. I love having all those different options to build my army in that game. It's a massive game. You're not going to see that at retail. So that's why. It's just the types of things I like are typically Kickstarter. Otherwise, yeah, I'd go save some money and go to retail. I'm not really smitten by Kickstarter exclusives in the sense that, like, oh, you can get this game, but not with this character. I think that's poor form anyway, and should only be there as a business need, not as a marketing tool. So that's kind of why I do, though. Why is no one covering the new Dune campaign? There was only one video from Quackalope and the rest from YouTube. Okay, so I actually comment on that. I recorded my video. You guys will see that tomorrow. Woo! On Dune, and I mentioned the exclusive thing and how that's great for Jesse, but bad for the community, right? I want to be able to see a whole bunch of playthroughs, and one in German and one in French, and all this other stuff. Like you should come on and do community outreach, really, right? They don't let people play the game early, and they don't do that. Instead, it's just a marketing business tool with a third-party company of Quackalope to be able to kind of get the word out. I'm not saying it's a bad video, but it's unfortunate we don't have more options, right? You kind of want to have more options. So yeah, that's unfortunate. That's normal for Come On, though, I think. All right, let's see here. Since you started, how many games you didn't try yet? Are Dungeon Crawl Legacy games not completed? Oh, I've never completed any narrative game, technically, except for Arena of the Contest and Antris Odyssey Prelude. What are your top 10 Dungeon Crawl games, and why is it the best genre in board gaming? I don't know if it's the best genre. It sells well, so there's that. Oh, excuse me. All right, I'm done with that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not doing a top 10 right on the spot because I struggle. I don't like assigning numbers to things because I think things can move around. Like, one of my favorite games is Conan. It's my wife's favorite game. But we played so much Conan. So much Conan. We played every scenario, often more than once. I'm kind of tired of it right now. Does that mean it's a worse game now because I wouldn't rate it 1 out of, the number 1 spot? Well, it just depends on your mood and how much you've played it and a whole host of other factors. Star Wars Rebellion with 2 players, I'd love to play it. With 4 players, I won't touch it. So, it's hard to do numbers anyway. I always struggle with that, even on top 10s. I know a lot of people can just bang them out there, but I sit there and I'm like, I don't know, and I move them around a whole lot. Do you have a strategy for burning through painting a game with a lot of minis? I am still very new, and I find the speed paint super wonderful to get stuff on the table. That's very true. So, a disclaimer, I do not paint to have a painted set for my game. I paint because I enjoy painting in the process of painting. I have stopped painting a mini halfway through because I'm not having fun with it anymore. I have so little spare time, I can't be bothered to have my hobby time become work, if that makes sense. So, painting is always for fun and for pleasure, and if I happen to get a painted game out of it, then so be it. So with that in mind, having stuff on and then just kind of painting while you're doing things is how I've seen a lot of my patrons do it. They'll either while watching a movie, well, don't just watch a movie, paint while you're watching a movie, or listening to something. Or I actually put on battle reports from like mini horror gaming, and I'll do that while I'm painting and stuff like that, and that can be kind of enjoyable instead of just sitting there and passively doing that. Get some paints down. How many games are there in your collection that you've finished? I don't know, and it's kind of hard. Most of the games I have don't have a finish, right? These are like skirmish games or replayable games that are like area control and stuff like that. So finish is kind of a loose term for a lot of board games, actually. Let's see here. Question from our friend Kelpie. Oh, yay, Kelpie! I don't see the question yet. Which 3 board games would you bring on a tropical island? Does that tropical island have other people on it? If not, like one of them would be Solomon Kane, so I could play solo. Do I get the all in? Do I get just a little bit, like the core box? I'm not sure. Probably still Solomon Kane. That's a good solo versus not. So if Wilson doesn't want to play with me, that's fine. I can play on my own if we're having a fight or something. I can like punt him into the ocean and he'll wash back ashore eventually. Happy to be my one, another two, whatever's the latest craze for me. Where I'm riding that delivery high. Pretty sure there's different prices for that. Okay, that's a response to that. Everyone listening should join the Discord. Agreed, the Discord's great. Do you get a lot of hate from other content creators when you side with consumers rather than publishers? No. I get hate from other content creators. Well, I guess I don't know. If it's direct, it's normally because I'm speaking about them, which I used to do a lot more. I don't anymore. Like I said, I now just focus on kind of what I'm doing. But for the first while, me, especially getting my feet, firmly on the ground when it comes to what it is I'm critiquing, stuff like that, I just view content creators as part of the industry. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I'm not against critiquing each other, just like I'm sure they're fine critiquing me if they wanted to. And I think there's a lot of problems in the industry, but I also think at the end of the day, people are just making content for their viewers. And while my viewers typically and me wouldn't participate in that, there's plenty of viewers that do want to, and there's nothing inherently wrong with providing your viewers with what they want. Even if it's like softball criticism or something like that. However, I've come across a lot of messages where a lot of content creators are talking about me, and I wasn't part of it or whatever, and it's often not positive. So do I get a lot of hate? Probably more than most, I imagine. I say a lot of strong opinions, and a lot of it kind of bucks the status quo of this kind of friendly, I'll review my friends' games because they're designers and I'm this and that or whatever. So, I mean, inherently, it's going to ruffle some feathers, right? That's just kind of the nature of the thing, and I don't hold it against them either. It's just normal. The whole industry is not used to getting criticized. Really, before I really started into this, I struggled to actually name anybody who was critiquing the industry. Tom Vassell would mention it every so now and then. When he talked about friendly local gaming stores not being friendly and stuff like that, I think he did a few of those videos. But for the most part, they only reviewed the games delivered, but not the companies that made them, not the industry, right? And so me critiquing the industry, not just the games they produce, is a very different thing. In other words, a developer can make a game and then it gets bombed, but they reviewed the game, not me. But now suddenly I'm reviewing them, the company. And so now they're getting used to that, and they're getting better, by and large. No, seriously, they are. But I can understand the initial reaction, not being used to getting that kind of attention, that kind of critique laid onto you as a company, to react in a negative way, a defensive way back. So I try not to hold it against them. The industry is getting used to it, and eventually they will. I doubt I'll be the last, and I doubt I'll be the best at critiquing the industry. There'll be people that do it better than me. And I look forward to them continuing to do it. I know there's already a whole bunch of these smaller channels that are growing and coming up that are doing it. And I think that's awesome. I think it's great. And I think it should continue. Any industry just does better with criticism. It's just there to do better. And that's great. Have you tried Machine Arcana yet? If so, what are your thoughts? I have not, which I really regret. It's one of the things I actually just the other week took the rule book out so that I'd start reading it because I do want to play it. Which you prefer, Spirit Island or Mage Knight? I've neither played both. However, I've looked at both, and Mage Knight looks better to me. I figured the backlash would recede, people forgetting, etc., but yeah, seems like it. I'm going to have you on the... Hey, Jeremy! Hello, Jeremy. Sorry, I'm just not getting to you. One day, sir. I would love to. Or we collaborate here. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm always the person that doesn't respond to pretty much anything. Haters can take the day off. Let's make some good content. I agree. I actually love it. I was looking at, you did a video with Alex where you talked about like the top 10 games you hate or something like that. And it was just so funny. I was actually talking on my Discord about you guys because Alex is such a like more gentle-natured person that like, you would say something he disagrees with and he would just kind of be like this. But then he would start saying something you disagree with and you're just like, you're wrong. And I was like, I like that guy. Jeremy, you and me need to hang out. Yeah, I love it. I think that's great. You're just like, you're like, oh, I'm going to hold it in. And then just Yeah, no, that's stupid. I was like, yes, that's exactly the kind of attitude I love. I think it's great. And Man vs. Meeple is very lucky to have you. Just amazed you can even read my question. Laugh out loud, you nut. No, I can read. So I'm so sorry that surprises you. I sent an email to contact@kingofbaverage.com. Is that email still in use? Yeah, well, define yes. Yes, it is. I am always behind. I always feel, I mentioned this in a Patreon video. I'm going to mention it here. Um, with my work, which easily takes 50 plus hours a week, and then with my special needs child and my family and stuff like that, like I had a multi-hour meeting with somebody who came into our house to talk about my son and kind of pass forward with him and stuff like that. Like it takes a lot of time. Um, I do have 4 kids. I'm trying to spend time with them too. So it's really hard to to do this at the scale that I'm at right now, part time, and so I do apologize for that. I feel like I'm always sprinting for yesterday. Is kind of how I worded it there. I mean I hustle, and I feel like it's always just to not be more behind than I already am. I will get to your message. I apologize if I didn't. Go ahead and reply to it. I'll look later today. Like just so it renews back up, and I'll take a look. But yes, that is a good email. So I apologize for not responding to that. It's hard. Get on the cloud with Jeremy. I would love to. He's tried to. It's bless his heart. It's me. I really suck at this. Oh no, it's hard to get the time. It was a cracking good question. A cracking good time. Oh yeah, like an unboxing, right? Do you paint giant minis different than smaller? I just had a 10-inch mini 3D printed and want to paint. Yes and no. It's easier because it's bigger for the most part. The thing you have to worry about, and I mentioned this in my stuffed fables painting video actually, because of the style of it. But when you have big open areas, you want to paint all of that fairly quickly. You don't want to when you're like globbing it on. You can sometimes get, especially with like a wash, all right, because you get those tide marks where you did it there and then you did it here, and so there's that little bit of overlap, right? And so it's a little bit darker there, and you can see the lines, stuff like that. So any big open areas, so it depends on the mini, right? But have like an armor plate or something like that. Just try and be conscious about the paint drying on it and kind of how you're painting on that, because otherwise you'll end up putting more layers over each other because you're already essentially by the time you get back to that, right, if you went all around or whatever, you're painting a second layer now, and if you paint that over the first, there'll be a little bit less opacity there, right? So just be conscious of that, but otherwise it's actually a lot easier, I find, to paint big minis versus small minis. It is hard to not lose my place here. I think I scrolled back down again. Oh no, cracking good question. Okay. Do you have a selection of games that you regret backing? Or regret backing everything because you realized the base game was enough? I regret them out. Yeah, like Bloodborne. I never even played past the core box, and I got it all in. I think with all in was less than 300 at the time. It was back when there was a little bit better deals on Kickstarter, but so I didn't need that much. So yeah, it's part of my anti all in stuff. I feel like I buy a lot of stuff I don't use into store, which is unfortunate. I don't regret backing anything though, really. I think everything is a lesson learned. Like even Nemesis, right? I played it, I hated it, I sold it. But it taught me a good lesson. It taught me why I like the things I like. I really try to, especially when I don't like something. Okay, why didn't I not like that? And then I can look into that in future games and back smarter in the future. It taught me a lot. What's your favorite and least favorite videos you have done? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Favorite video. Favorite video is going to be harder. I think least favorite is probably the Come On Stole My Money one. At least that's the most recent one. That one, I recorded it ahead of time real quick because I was going on an anniversary trip to a cabin with my wife, and there's like no real internet there, so I had to pre-film some stuff. And I was going to do a generalized video on that, but that would require research, and I was trying to be quick because I wanted these videos ahead of time. So instead of doing any of the like more research I would need to really do a proper video like I normally do, I just told a story. And it changed the theme of that feel of that video to an attack on Kaman over a certain thing, as opposed to just a data entry in a greater video talking about, an industry practice. So that was definitely my least favorite, not because of the messages or anything like that, but because I feel like it didn't help people, if that makes sense. At the end of the day, that's why I'm making these videos, is to help you guys. So that's probably my least favorite. For most favorite, that's kind of hard. I would say, and I can't think of a specific one, but anytime I make a video for an indie developer, and oh, it says now would be a good time to insert an ad. Again, if you have not liked the video, at least like it. I'm not going to put any of those ad stuff in there. That's silly in a live stream. So just help me out with that at least. Anytime I've made a video for an indie developer and then I saw a lot of traction, I use Bitly links so I can see what you guys like and don't like, what the connection is there, and see that, oh man, got 3,000 clicks, and I'm like, I think that's great. It means I helped connect a great game with an audience that thinks it's a great game, and I think that I love it. I love it. So anytime that's happened, that would be my favorite. Continue being you, man. It's the only person I know how to be. That's my only advice to you if I would ever give. You don't have to be popular with everyone. That's why I love this content. Yeah. I mean, if you're not divisive in some way, then that's actually kind of sad, right? It almost means you don't have a personality. I forget who said it, but it's kind of that like general quote of like, art. The worst art is the art that you don't feel for. Even if you hate art, at least you had a reaction to it, right? But art that you just gloss over, that's the worst art, not the bad art that you think. Because that got good or bad, at least you're reacting to it. So anyway, yeah, I totally agreed there. I'm I know people hate when it says, but I'm definitely an acquired flavor for some. Let's see here. Yeah, I hate when that jumps. Good grief. Has a gameplay video ever helped you make a decision on a game? I dodged a bullet with Dress Part Legacy because of that. I don't often watch this because, again, of a time limit thing. But yes, it has. Actually, I always mention Man vs. Meeple for this. It's not necessarily a gameplay video, but they do a lot of overviews of games that have helped me immensely, because a lot of times the campaign page tells you like nothing. And then I'll watch them talk about the game like in an overview. I think it's normally a paid overview, and there's nothing wrong with making that. Because it's a good service, and I think more people should use it because it's really helped me understand the game more. Otherwise, I mean, I used to watch more, like I watched a Black Rose Wars gameplay video, but often no, I don't get a lot out of watching other people have fun. Like my kids do this all the time, right? They'll watch other kids play with toys on YouTube versus playing with their own toys. I don't, maybe I'm too old. Maybe that's a boomer me or something, but I don't understand the joy of watching other people have fun. Like I want to have fun. I want to watch other people have fun. So perhaps that's the issue there. Okay. There's some chatter going on. That's fine. Come on, says hold my beer and starts a KS specifically to buy a yacht with extra shipping. God, yeah. Churn in his yacht or something, right? What game has surprised you the most in a good way and ended up being far better than you initially thought it had any right to be? Any right to be, huh? Game was I surprised with? There's a lot of indie games that maybe don't look as good as they are. I guess actually something like Resident Evil from SFG. My understanding is SFG has not made a whole lot of great games. Most of the games that they make that are IP driven specifically look kind of like cash-ins a little bit to me. However, we had a lot of fun with Resident Evil, and I think it turned out quite well. And you can tell it's a third iteration on it. The exploration by putting the map tiles down are really good. If you take it in context of this is like the third game they've made of it, it may be not as impressive because it took them that long to get to this point. But I honestly have had a lot of fun with it, and it's one that because it's by SFG, I wasn't really sure if I would or not. So yeah, I guess that's a good enough example. Is that chat really live? I don't know. Maybe because they're all robots. Do you back the new? Oh, I guess not really live because I'm probably behind. Did you back the new Oko? And if so, are you excited for it? I did. I did not like it as much as Oko Chronicles. It's not bad. It still has a lot of the cool game mechanics, but I really like the dungeon crawl mystery theme of a whodunit when it comes to who's the demon in Oko Chronicles. So I like that a little bit more than the method they did here, where it's a little bit more defensive. If GameFound or Kickstarter offered you a job working for them, would you take it? It's the same pay or even a pay raise. If it's the same pay, probably not. If it's a pay raise, it depends. I have nothing against, taking good jobs and doing well. Not only that, but I feel I could do some good work, right? If
imagine in your head, you feel like you're trying to help an industry, right? And I'm not trying to get all pompous here or anything like that. You guys know me enough to know that. And then you have the opportunity to really help, right? Well, I mean, yeah, that'd be awesome. What if I was like right there, able to help? I think that'd be great. So, I have no issue with that. Would I still do reviews? Right, that's the key. I think a lot of people like to double dip, right? And it's I've kind of mentioned this before, where because we all like these board games, so that we want to do the review. And so we want to do that critical review, but at the same time, we also want to work with these companies and do this and do that. And I feel that's double dipping, right? You can do one and do the other, and that's totally fine, right? But like if like so, I work for a cat dealership that deals with Caterpillar, like construction equipment. If I were to review cat tractors or construction equipment and stuff like that, a skid steer or whatever, even if I told you, hey, I work for cat, like, I mean, what use is that really? Is that really good? Now let's say I review a John Deere. Like, well, that's even worse. Like you know, what if I worked for cat and talked about the industry? I don't think there's an issue there, right? So it's like, it's not saying you can't do stuff. It's just the review part I struggle with, right? I don't know why people are so obsessed with the review. If I had the opportunity to work in the industry, get paid well, and then I would just drop reviews. I don't have to review board games. I guess I'll talk about industry stuff and whatnot, and just claiming all that. But actually critically looking at another company's, a competitor's stuff doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. I don't understand the desire to do both. But yeah, just getting a job. There's nothing wrong with that. We all got to get paid, right? Treat my kids right. Take my wife out to eat, maybe. Go on a date. That sounds nice. You got to get a pay raise for that, right? And you do a collab video. Yes, we do. Okay. Spaceball's a board game. Yes. Is eBay the best place to sell board games, or should I take them along to sell at conventions? eBay's pretty good. It's quite active, and you can get a lot of traction there. I've actually had luck at the BGG marketplace. I've done well there too. That's where I like sold Nemesis, for instance. But I mean, you could take it at conventions. I don't know that. If that's a great place for it, I don't know. I feel like you would be. It's almost like a diamond in the rough, right? There's a lot of competition there, I feel, and you can't search it like you could on eBay. But I mean, there's no shipping, so there's that too. So like game swaps at like criminal gaming stores and stuff, I've heard good things about too. Spaceballs 2, the quest for more money, the board game. Love it. Let's just keep put another ampersand in there. Actually, Spaceballs, the quest for more money, the board game. That's a double it up. So Spaceballs a flamethrower first. Yeah, that's from Boring Company. Same meal for the rest of your life. What would it be? A steak. I love steak. I got two ribeyes in the fridge. Actually, I was just like, I think I might cook those today. I got this really great peppercorn. Then you crush them, so they're like these kind of big chunks of them, and then you get the pan really hot and put some oil in there, and then you smack them in there, and then you get that really crisp, and then you finish it in the oven. Oh, it's awesome. It's really, really good. And then you get like this peppercorn and then cognac and whipping cream and all this stuff in there. It's a great sauce too. It's really, really good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. The steak. Now, my mouth is watering now. Love it. Hello, hello, hello. If you don't mind, what is the best memory? What is your best memory and your worst? This is not disclaimed as being a boring. So what is my best memory? Well, when I got married, and I'm standing up there, and my wife starts coming down the aisle, I had the stupidest grin on my face. Like it was dumb. Like I was so happy. Um, when my daughter was born, though, and I'm holding her in my hands, and this like weird chemical imbalance of emotions like ran through me, and it was pretty great. But those are some highlights for my life for sure. Worst. Um, there's some childhood kid stuff that's probably there at the worst, I would imagine. Let's see here. Where do you play most of your games at home? Yes, most of them are right here in my home. I tend to be the person that hosts. I tend to be the person that buys the board games, and so I do that. Game Brigade lives near me as well, and so sometimes I go over to his house and play some games as well. Morning King, good morning, Chocobo Sam. It's good to see you. Glad you made it here. What tree do I have to shake to get an awesome DBZ board game? The Funimation Toei animation, not Funimation, Toei. Go shake Toei. They're the bad party there. They're a terrible company. We need it though. We like I don't know how we haven't. It's all about fighting. Like how could you not? Anyway, do you like Infinity better than 40K, and why is it objectively better in every way? I actually want to do a comparison of these two. I want to compare Code 1 to Killzone. I want to compare N4 to Warhammer 40K 9th edition. And it'd be great. I like them both. The Infinity is pretty darn cool though. Can you say hello to the people of No, I cannot. For someone new to their channel, which reviews would you recommend? The ones where the games seem interesting and available to you, I would say. I mean, yeah, you don't have to watch all my videos. Just watch what you find useful, I suppose. Which reviewers? I apologize. Which reviewers would you recommend? Alex and Jesse review a ton of stuff. So that's definitely a big one there. Tom, of course, Tom Vassell at Dice Tower is a big one. Like I said, I don't actually watch too many of them, so I couldn't tell you too well on that. But I mean, there's a whole host. Typically, you want to do the title and then review and then kind of go for it. The thing I do avoid is skit reviewers. I find skits to be almost the opposite of honest critique, because when you do a skit around, it's supposed to be entertaining and funny and all that, and that inherently drives you to be exaggeration, to exaggerate things. So like, if the rule book is bad in a normal review, when you're just trying to be critical, you would just say the rule book's bad. You would say how, and then you move on. If you're a skit reviewer, though, it's the worst thing ever, and you have this 10-minute thing about it where you act out the silliness and all that kind of stuff, and it blows things out of proportion for entertainment purposes, but at the loss of accuracy of information. So I tend to avoid skit reviewers. I know a lot of people like them, but for me, I'm not quite getting as factual information as I could that way. Let's see. Your sound's gone again. Oh no, my sound's gone again. No, surely you can hear me. I didn't change nothing. Let's see. Did your opinion of ISIS Vanguard has changed, or do you still think it will be boring for me? I don't think it's something that I would be interested in. I am hoping a lot of people love it, though. What do you think of Tainted Grail's update pack? I mean, as a backer of the second edition, you'll get updated cards, rules, and story snippets. I, as a first edition backer, feel like I bought a broken game. That's always a risk, right? What I would caution against this. So I talked about this in 3D printers a lot. I have a Mars 2 Pro that prints very well. There's a new Mars out that's better. That doesn't make the Mars 2 Pro suddenly bad. It's not like we've been printing with a bad printer this whole time. So just because there is an update, I'd caution against mentally thinking that means that your version is somehow now bad. It was great. That's why it was reviewed great, and why a lot of people loved it. And view it that way. That's how I choose to do it. In fact, a lot of times I'll buy an older version of something because it was still great. It's not like it was bad. It may not be the new thing, but they weren't selling a bad product before. So Tainted Grail reviewed very well. A lot of people loved it. I'm sure it's a great game for you. Don't worry too much about new stuff coming out. Okay, let's see. I thought Come On Bread and Butter was NFTs now. I don't know. It depends on if you even believe what's going on there. What a mess. Oh no. Let's see. What is your favorite coffee brew method, and how far down the rabbit hole have you tried? Okay, so I drink coffee kind of like a caffeinated milkshake. Okay, so this right here has some cream in it and 2 sugars. I don't like the bitter taste of coffee typically. The Hawaiian blend is pretty mild, so I don't mind it, but I would rather not drink it black. And as such, once you add all that stuff in, it doesn't tend to matter too much what coffee you have. So if I need the toxic sludge that comes at work, I'll drink that. So just normal. I mean, I have a Keurig that I do a little pot of Toli's Hawaiian blend. I don't do any cold brew or any kind of weird presses or anything like that. I'm sorry to disappoint. I know I just made several of you upset. Did you buy Chronicles of Grunegal reprint or just Apocalypse? I am so excited about it. I have Chronicles of Grunegal, so it was just the Apocalypse stuff that I grabbed. I started making some TTS videos about all the different characters. Yeah, it's great. It's really, really fun. Body count of 1.5. Yeah, we've all been there, right? Gotta bounce. Good to see you. Go with flow. Thanks for being here. Any thoughts on the new sprue minis for D&D? I don't. They're doing sprue minis. I didn't even know. I think that's great. A lot of people buy them, like the Pathfinder stuff and all that. I think it's awesome. A lot of people don't like sprues because it's you have to glue them together. Honestly, I mean it's not as hard as I think people think it is. It can be if it's designed well. It's not though. There are like King Death Monster, for instance, was some of the worst minis I've ever built. They were built and cut in a way for the quality and not for the build experience. There are companies like I think Games Workshop actually does this, where they design it with the idea of you having to build it in mind, and so it's very convenient to just kind of fit together and you do good. And buying miniature glue as opposed to Elmer's glue is not that hard. You dab it on there, you put it there, you're good to go. So I think ideally more people become okay with that, but that's only assuming that companies keep us in mind and not just making it, look pretty, I guess. Do you think Dune's poor performance by Command standards will impact them as a company? No, Kickstarter is not that big of a part of them, and they get a lot of business benefit out of seeing general, who's buying what and how much stuff's selling to make. So they can make much better business decisions moving forward without that. Wilson would win. Will you probably pledge for the new TNT Grill? Probably not, though I am glad that they got rid of their grind. It's kind of weird that they have so much grind in their games, right? Like between that and Aetherfields, and then like their first like 1.1 was to but yeah, now minus all that grind that just like padded it out and was unnecessary. It's almost like they make bigger games than they need to make. Like make it smaller and cheaper. But no, probably not. The design seems a little odd to me. Kind of mentioned on the miniature, at least that one. And I never played through the original for a couple reasons. The KOA viewers want feet though. You're tough. I find feet gross. I'm not a feet guy. What Oathsworn? Why are we talking about feet? You guys. What Oathsworn chapter are you up to? I'm on a chapter 8. And how are you finding the experience? I'm on 3, so I have not played near as much as I need to. But I mean, it's good stuff. I just need more time to do it. I'm actually going to be doing Kingdom Come Deliverance, so that's why I stopped. Well, I stopped because of Nanolith and then that. It's always something else, right? Which board game? And I mean, it's kind of a bummer that it gets in the way of what I would normally play, right? Which board game with standees or tokens represents monster heroes would benefit the most from adding minis? All of them that don't put information on the standee. There are some like Earth Under Siege and some other games that put information on the standee itself, and that's kind of hard to do without then, right? And so that is one of the benefits of standees. Anything that doesn't do that, it's just that. I think minis look good from many angles, so that's my opinion there. Except, I think Zombicide might improve with minis, because you have so many there, it's easier to grab a whole bunch. Do the bans on BGG hurt your viewer numbers? No. How excited for Cinco? I mean, yeah, not my viewer numbers. Maybe it would for some, but for me, I mean, you guys know me and kind of know how I operate and my viewpoints on a lot of things and stuff like that. So no, it didn't really hurt. How excited for Cinco Cushion are you? It's died down. It's been too long, right? It's a hard thing to know when to announce, right? Because you want to be able to build up hype. You don't want to just surprise people and come out of nowhere. So you want to build up that hype. But if it delays at any time, it just starts waning, and it's almost impossible to gain that back, which is unfortunate. So yeah, I'm hoping they can still do that. But I mean, it's less than it was. I still think it looks good, but we just haven't heard anything in a while, and it's been a while now. It's nothing new. Are you excited about the new Reavers of Midgard expansion? I've never played, so I wouldn't know. The Grumpy Meeple, what's up? I don't know. I've been talking a lot. It's been fun. Are you backing Robomon? I did not. Just too much for what I get, I feel. And I think only my son would play it with me. Do you think Kaman can turn the ship back in a good way, or is it gone to fizzle out? I think any company can come back from any number of things. I think Peterson Games can come back. It's all about, I mean, you got to hustle, right? But you can do that. Look at Archon. Archon Studios started out by like copying other people and making crappy games. That's how they got started. Like Kaman sent them like a cease and desist, and like it was nasty. And then they were an offshoot of Protos, which was bad. But they've consistently, especially since Chronicle X, worked on making better games and better quality stuff. And people love their terrain stuff and love their rampart and their dungeon stuff. And like Wolfenstein was fantastic. And so they're doing all these things, and now they're doing Heroes of Might and Magic that people are very happy with them now. And they started in the negative by far. Command could easily become a powerhouse again if they chose to. They just got to work at it. But I've not seen any effort on them to do that, so that's unfortunate. But it is what it is. Hi King. Is there a culture or setting that hasn't been explored in board games that you would like to see? I think most things have been explored in board games, maybe not the genre or at the scale or with the rule set that everybody would like, perhaps. But I mean, there's been a lot of board games out there, if that makes sense. Um, so I always thought like Native American stuff was really cool, and we don't get a lot of that. We still get a lot of like cowboys and Indians kind of stuff, but I think some Native American, like tribal stuff would be cool, and I think it would be interesting to see the like you'd play on like the USA map, but it's not like the modern USA map, right? And so you're busy hunting and doing all this stuff, and I don't know, it would sound cool. I don't even know exactly what I would want of that. I just think thematically that's neat, and we here in America have a lot of Native American stuff. Again, I went to college in Oklahoma, and so there was a lot of Native American stuff there that just we're surrounded by it a lot, and I think it'd be kind of cool. How sexy is Gandalf? It depends on what he's wearing. Why haven't received my O sword yet? I don't know. You should contact them. Let Shadowborn Games know. Hey, what's going on? I know they're still working. I think it's at 80% last time I saw in America. How is it to compete in this field against other channels that do paid reviews and are deep in the pockets of publishers? I think the word compete is the wrong word there. Honestly, I find it harder to deal with people that are full time versus people that just are like in bed with the companies. Because at the end of the day, I can only invest so much time, right? And that's a very limited factor. Like I can't imagine what I could if I had full time. Whoo, man! I'll tell you what, I'd probably run 3 different channels and have them all higher quality than what I do here. But so I think the time investment's kind of there. But it's no different than life. I mean, people are born into different circumstances than you, or get different opportunities than you, and stuff like that. So when it comes to having an easier time doing well or something like that, that's fine. For instance, also, I am very niche, right? A lot of companies or a lot of channels will cover a variety, every game type there is, right? And have no problem with that. And I'm very focused and niche on what I'm looking at. But I'm actually fine with that. I find that brings us a much stronger community. We share a lot more in common with each other than others. Whereas like, oh yeah, I don't even like that game and or that genre, but you're doing videos on that. It means ideally you are interested in more of the videos I'm making, which is also nice. And yeah, I appreciate the connection there that I have with that. And you guys would know if I'm phoning in something, right? So if I'm not passionate about something, you guys are gonna be able to tell. Hey, King of Average doesn't care about this, right? So yeah, I think competing is kind of a wrong thing there because we're pretty much playing different games, if that makes sense. They're busy being like essentially a third party company that can help with video work and content around there, and which that's a fine thing to do. I think it's a great thing to do. A lot of these game companies don't have professional camera setups and studios and stuff like that. Like, yeah, go pay a channel to go do that for you. Again, it's the doing that plus reviews. It's the double dipping that I always kind of have an issue with. But at the end of the day, they're going to do what they're going to do. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. So I don't even check, to be honest. So how is it? It's fine. Obviously I'm not full time with this. But I think if I was a single dude, if I didn't really have a family to provide for and a certain lifestyle and that I want to give my children and stuff like that, and how I want to treat my wife to certain things and whatnot, I could probably take the plunge now and just say, hey guys, I'm going full time, help support it, and do well enough. But I'm not. I got a family of 6. I want to treat them well, and yeah, so it's not going to happen. I'm not going to put my kids at risks on it. Do you think I could get a lasting tales from the shipping company that is holding it? Potentially. It really depends. Most of their contracts, my understanding is, does have it to where after a certain amount of time, it's released into theirs as their property, and they can do so with what they wish. Often, though, they do then have a group that, or a rule that then has it just feed to like an online portal that you can get it from there. But yeah, you can ask where they're at in that process, if nothing else. New Tainted Grail just dropped, releases date 27th. Wow, that is soon. Okay, all right. So like 2 weeks ish. I guess about like 10, 11 days. Pretty excited for it. It's my Grail game. What is your opinion on the Tainted Grail series? I played Tainted Grail. I did about 3 or 4 sessions of it. Wasn't necessarily for me. It was fine. The card gameplay is fun. However, I didn't like. And I also struggle with this when it's like, oh, it'd be cool to have like a Final Fantasy kind of game where you're all going around and doing stuff. But if you want that freedom of movement, you still have to kind of move at a party because otherwise, like I sat back once. We were playing Tainted Grail. My wife was doing a diplomacy thing with some guards there. My buddy was hunting some deer or something like this. He was like hunting there, and I was busy following a quest over here. And then there was one other player, I think it was my son, who was like off on an island somewhere. And so we were all playing a Tainted Grail, but none of us were even talking to each other because we were all doing these like mini games and our own little thing there. So I didn't really care for that. I wasn't getting out of the board game what I wanted from there. Mechanical wise, I thought it was actually a lot of fun. It just, I would probably like it more solo. What Warhammer armies do you play? I just mentioned that, so I have a Space Marine army. I did like a stealth one there because I didn't want like a normal one. So they're on like the Phobos armor. I have an Adeptus Custodes combat patrol. I hope to make into a full army. My daughter has an Adeptus Sortus. The Battle Nuns. She has a combat patrol of that. My son has an army of Tyranids, and I have an army of Necrons. I'll probably add more. What is your day job? I am a software developer for the BI team, or the business intelligence team, for a cat dealership here. Before that, I worked at HP. I was the lead test and support engineer there. King, what has been the most unexpected, positive, and negative that you didn't see coming about running a YouTube channel? Okay, let's see. Positive is the fulfillment. So I'm going to start with the positive. I just mentioned my work. My work is fine. It pays me, which is great. I wouldn't do it if it didn't pay. I did this even when it didn't pay. And so the difference there is I get fulfillment out of what I do here, and I don't get fulfillment out of what I do at work. Not to say I don't like my work or anything like that. It's just, people will choose different things that gives them sustenance, that gives them fulfillment in their life or satisfaction in their life. And I think a lot of people that are depressed haven't found that yet, or haven't really comprehended what that is. For some people, it's their kids. For some people, it's their work. For some people, it's their personal accomplishments or their athletic competitions. There's a whole host of things that can bring that in. I realized that I actually got more fulfillment out of being a cashier as a teenager at retail than I did programming for HP. And so I started thinking, like, okay, why do I look at that so fondly when it was crap pay, there were terrible people to work with, your manager was terrible, the work hours were bad, you got cursed out sometimes. There was a lot of negatives there. And I found, and this is before I even started the YouTube channel, I found that I got joy out of making people's day better and helping them out. So if they needed to find something, being able to do that. So I worked at PetSmart. And there would be people that like just got back from the vet and they're like, hey, my dog's allergic to grain. Can you help me? And being able to help them and get their dog the best food that they could get, I really enjoyed that. Really got some satisfaction out of that. Or just as a cashier, I realized that, and we actually won award. I was the lead cashier there. And we won awards for the best in the district for our surveys and stuff like that. Because you can have a bad experience in a store, but the last experience you have is with that cashier. And if they are pleasant and kind and smiling and understanding, sympathetic, and it's kind of a joy to be around, you're going to leave with a smile on your face, right? Maybe traffic was bad getting in there and you couldn't find the products, you had to deal with something else. But then the cashier made you laugh, told a joke, or was just really pleasant. Have you ever had a meal at a restaurant where the food's kind of but the waitress or waiter is like super good? You end up enjoying that experience, even though the food wasn't the best per se. So I get a lot of satisfaction, a lot of fulfillment out of what I do here, helping you guys. And it is definitely the biggest positive by far. Knowing that I'm helping, even to some of you, is huge, huge to me, and is why I do it 100%. Even if the pay went away right now, I'd still be making video content for you guys. For the negative, time. Time's honestly it. It's not even like mean comments or anything like that. It's just losing time and not having enough time for all the hobbies that I want to do, right? That's probably the big thing there. Do you see a future of written board game reviews? Yeah, there's always going to be that. A lot of people like to do that versus watch stuff. You can search for things easier in a written review than a video review. Video reviews are nice. You can show off things, but you can't. It's harder to search for a certain spot or what you said there, whereas you can control F in a written review. So there's that. A written review is easier to kind of watch while moving around if you don't have headphones or whatever, because it's silent, right? So that helps too. I think video reviews could do some improvement though. I've never been happy with my video reviews, like at all. It's because I haven't been able to invest in them properly. But I feel everybody copies Tom. Tom was kind of the first guy doing this, and most of us just copy what he did. But I'm used to and I tried this once a long time ago, and it didn't really work out well. But I still want to try to do it at some point. When you watch a video game review, it's much different than a board game review. You actually see the game being played, and you see kind of what they're talking about as they're talking about it. If they're talking about the combat, you're seeing the combat. If they're talking about base building, you see them doing base building and stuff like that. I've always thought that'd be cool to do with board games. So if I'm talking about the card gameplay, even if I'm just talking about it now, what you see visually is me playing the card gameplay, right? Almost recording the screen while you play kind of thing. It's something I've wanted to do, because I think sometimes talking about something and seeing it done are very helpful to see compared with one another. So that's kind of the thing I would like to do eventually with them. It's really invest in them, but that takes a lot more work. All the best from Poland. Hey, hello. I was not interested in your channel for a long time. You aren't the only one. But these days, I cannot wait for the next episode. Keep with the girl. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm glad you like what I do. Thanks for everything. Of course. Are you perhaps going to overview Weimar, the Fight for Democracy Kickstarter? Well, first I have to be able to pronounce it. It looks really interesting. The price is outrageous. Wondering what you think about it. I haven't. I'll look into it, I guess. Hey, pal, what are your thoughts on retail selling back games before we receive them? That happens often, and often they cost a fair amount less. That's hard. It's hard. I wanted to mention this before. There was a comment earlier around just like, should you wait till you deliver it? 100% delivered is a very hard thing to do. When there's 17,000 people all across the world, often you don't even get tracking in some of these places. And so it's hard to know when you're done. Or are you done when literally all 17,000 are verified there and in their hands? Are you done after you've replaced things that, oh, I didn't get this order, or hey, this was wrong? Because even after you deliver, then you start getting all that, hey, this is wrong, I need this fixed, I need this replaced, blah, 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 right? So that's a very fuzzy line on done, right? When it comes to shipping retail, often there's a lot of contracts involved, and you have to produce it there and then ship it. And if you tell them, hey, it's going to be there on April 26th, they don't want to store it, and you don't want to store it. And if they're planning on having it available, they might be running ads. They might be saying, hey, this is going to be coming on Friday and pick up the game, blah blah blah. You can't work with all of them doing that. So you kind of have to stick with the number. So you're going to pick a date, you're going to pick when you're doing that, and then you just do it, and hopefully deliver before then. That's the kind of the issue there. The only other way to do that is to heavily delay it, which is certainly a possibility, but that's more expensive too. It'd be much better to just do one print run than two, right? So if the manufacturer's already making the stuff, we'll make the retail portion as well at the same time. Otherwise, it might be kind of silly. And maybe you need the money or something like that. I don't know. Hopefully, you've made enough on your Kickstarter to be able to run your business enough to be able to go to retail. But anyway, it's hard because there's a lot of logistics involved. That happens a lot with even reviews, right? Or delays in launch, right? Because they might pay for advertising, they might pay a channel to do a review, and hey, you're going to do it on Friday, and then what are you going to say? Oh, actually, no, hopefully you find another video for Friday, but don't release the review yet, we've delayed. You get into those awkward situations where sometimes you spend so much time and money and logistics into launching on that day that you just got to do it on that day. So it's kind of hard. Instant Patreon offer, your terrible take on coffee. What's wrong with my Hawaiian blend Tullies? I like it. Got all that flavor cream in there and stuff. What's the move? Do you plan on prepping a ton of videos so the YouTube algorithm doesn't impact you whilst moving? Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the goal. Ideally, I'm not moving without internet, so I'll still be able to make kind of videos okay. I think one of the first things I do is this, but Yeah, the idea is YouTube algorithm doesn't allow you to take a break. So if you want to take a break, you have to do extra work ahead of time to pre-record stuff. I'll see what we're doing. It depends. I think right now we're scheduled to have the house available at the end of December, which with Christmas and all that stuff, I don't know. It's gonna be messy. It's gonna be a busy time. We'll see. So waiting for the Cinco-Cushion pin up. You are not alone, I'm sure. Great to see the live stream. Take care. I appreciate it. Thank you. Our first edition games, I have the 1E Mansion of Madness, totally different from the 2E. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for your advice, Koei, and have a good one. Thoughts on Kamon's Dune new add-on? I haven't seen it yet. It probably just happened while I was doing this. Yeah, I got phones and thumbnails, but videos are on point. Yeah, you guys, no joke. The thumbnails, if it's just text, it was probably me just not having enough time to do more. It takes a lot of time to like gather images and then especially trim them out with a lasso tool and stuff like that because the smart object doesn't always work and stuff like that. So yeah, normally it's me and it's me just being like, there you go. There's some text on there. Yeah, which is rough. Thanks for answering. Friendly, the space needs more voices like yours. Oh, thank you. You are very welcome. You're a pretty big name in the board game scene at the moment. Do companies contact you for your opinion on game-related marketing, e.g. stuff? Yes. I actually have a meeting right after this with a developer for much just like that. I am not able to always accommodate. Why do you dislike Awakened Realms so much? I don't. I think the company's fine. Their games aren't for me. And as much as I wanted to, I bought Nemesis and bought Tainted Grail and bought Etherfields, and I didn't like all three of them. And I think ISIS Vanguard looks boring. So they're just not making games that appeal to me. Their quality for a long time was below average when it came to like the minis and stuff like that. So it was rough knowing that off my shelf they are making the worst things, that Fantasy Flight Games was making better minis than them. E-Star has really improved since then. They're still not the best manufacturer by far, and I would not use them. However, they're better. I think they hold Awakened Realms back, actually. I think people confuse not liking a game with not liking a company. Especially if I don't like any of their games. That must mean I hate the company. I have nothing against Awakened Realms. It's the company. I think they do a lot of smart things, and a lot of people love their product, and that's awesome. They're delivering it, and people are confident doing it. You know, they're making money doing it. There's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, I have no issue with Awakened Realms as a company. It's just the games. Let's be sure to differentiate what I'm critiquing. Where are we at? Okay, I agree with Tainted Grail. Benefits from sticking as a group as much as possible. Yeah, I would definitely enjoy that more. I'm an hour late, but Braveheart the board game sounds great. Ah, yeah, there you go. That'd be cool. Do you have music or YouTube or anything else running as the side while you're working? Yes, almost always. I hate silence. Part of, I guess, growing up and having, you know, 6 or 4 kids, a family of 6, it's always loud here. So if I'm working, I typically am either blasting music or listening to it, and I listen to a wide variety of things. Yeah, I'm all over the place. Hi, greetings from the Czech Republic. Hello, welcome. Hi from the Netherlands, going to Spiel. We'll talk about that in the fundraiser. What does the phrase floating rocks mean to you? Well, the two things. What I first think of is the terrain where you have like the transparent thing and the rocks kind of floating there, kind of like a cool magical area where, you know, stuff's doing that. And then of course I think of like Dragon Ball Z anime stuff where the rocks start, you know, your key's super powerful or whatever, and it's floating rocks everywhere. How much do you think will Cinco-Cushion all in be? I think they've said less than 1,000. So less than 1,000. Is that like an all-day show? Some of us have to work. Oblong, I'm actually just about to end it. Look at that, it's right at 2 hours too, because I've actually caught up. So that was a lot of questions though, guys. I had a lot of fun with this. I hope you did too. So we need a break so Oblong can get some work done, of course. But 99 is less than 1,000. It is. I think it's going to be expensive. Hips minis, a lot of stuff, a lot of components. It's going to be pretty close to KDM levels, I feel, especially with the prices in today's market. So yeah, is what it is. What games are you currently backing or are most excited about? Yeah, mostly just excited about getting this Darkest Dungeon thing here. Tell us about Darkest Dungeon. Well, I did earlier. So I do have the box here. Well, yeah, it's down there. I have the box. I'm gonna pick it up. It's like this big for the wave one. So I think there's like 3 or 4 boxes in there. So I look forward to unboxing. That'll be here real soon. So you'll see that probably on Sunday. Okay. Will be close to KDM level. I just joined. Welcome, AVP2 Survivor. I don't think it's going to be like, I mean, because at this point KDM has all sorts of stuff, but it's going to be hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I would expect at least 600, perhaps more. That's what I would guess. Favorite Euro beige game? Oh, well, obviously, Caverna. I mean, I told you guys how great of a game that was, right? Gotta do my cave farming. Oh, what will be close to KDMO? Sinkokushin. So Sinkokushin 5 sacrifices. They have hips, minis. There's a lot of components, a lot of different story stuff and all that. It's a very, very big and broad game, and they're definitely going for quality with like hobby in mind. They said it will be cheaper than 1,000. I expect it to be closer than farther from 1,000. Yeah, sorry about that. You're like, wait, what are we talking about? What's going on? All right, guys, I think I am going to wrap it up. I'll do this again next time. This was a lot of fun, so I'll definitely be doing these in the future. I'll announce them, of course, as well. We'll get the audio better, I promise. I'll work on that as well in the offline, where you guys don't have to bother with that. Did I mention anything about Dune and Come On? A few times. You can go back and take a look there. Probably look at the transcript or the questions. But anyway, that's it for today. Thanks a lot, guys. I always appreciate you all. Take care.